All right, elk tour. Stop number 1 complete. New Mexico bull elk in the trailer. Now we're heading to Montana. Let's go. I rolled up from New Mexico last night up to Idaho Falls. This morning met up with Logan, my videographer and partner for this next hunt, and we are headed to Montana for my second elk tag this year. So feeling super blessed, super grateful to have already a great bull in the trailer and meat at the processor. It's beautiful autumn weather here, so looking forward to getting out of the desert and chasing some elk in the beautiful Rocky Mountains of Montana. Can't wait. Let's go. Opening day. We're gonna get an early start and bushwhack up this ridge and see if we can get away from the crowd. Let's start my track here. I always start one from camp, at least on the first day, just to be safe. It's about 8:30. It's been an exciting morning already. About 15 minutes ago, I spotted a couple elk over here at the top of this ridge, and I was trying to point them out to Logan. He goes, "Oh, there's a moose." So we saw 2 pretty nice bull moose working this ridge right here, and then we were looking at one of the moose, and we saw 2 little mule deer bucks sparring. It's pretty cool. We got in the same frame a bull moose and 2 mule deer bucks sparring. So it's a good spot, I think. There's animals in here. I've seen some elk. It's really thick up where we saw those elks. We were just kind of getting glimpses. But we can see a lot of country from here, and it's a beautiful morning, so we're just going to hang out and keep looking for animals. Well, we got a really solid shooter bull over here. I'd maybe give him a solid 280. That's also kind of what Logan was thinking. He's in some really thick stuff over there. About 1,500 yards. Really solid bull. We think it's a different one than Logan saw last night down here in this wallow. But he's just being super sneaky and just hanging out in the thickest stuff over there. So I think it was a really good first day in my book. I mean, we saw a ton of animals this morning. Just about maybe 30-45 minutes ago, this guy peeked out. We know exactly where he's at. He's not really in a killable spot right now, but you don't want to leave elk to find elk. And we got elk here. So definitely gonna come back tomorrow, at least. And we think it's just a matter of time before we get one that's in a killable spot. But really stoked to have seen a couple shooters in here. So I'm excited. Well, it's been another fun morning of glassing. We got up here nice and early. It takes about an hour and a half to hike up here. It's about 1,000 vertical feet of elevation, about 2 miles. It's not like super strenuous, but it's just long. We saw the moose again, we watched them. I spotted a couple of bulls up here, a group of 3 bulls. One of them is, one, maybe 2 is a shooter. They're not as nice as that big boy we saw last night in the thick stuff, but we think it might be the same bulls that Logan saw on the first night scouting up here. So they are pretty high up the mountain in some thick stuff over here. And then I looked down on this side at the bottom here and found about 4 or 5 elk. Unfortunately, those are just cows and a spike down there, but that's kind of where we need them to be. So it's good there's elk down there, because there's a little finger ridge we can run right here and pretty much shoot at those elk. But it's about 10. We got a little bit more time before they're really bedded down. We keep glassing, and then we'll figure out what the rest of the day holds. Alright guys, so here's the deal. Last night we had that like solid 280 bull. There's also a wallow down here, and we've seen cows in the area. So I came down this finger ridge that runs down from our glassing spot, and I found a perfect little rock outcropping to shoot off of. And I spent about 10 or 15 minutes building a rest, moving some rocks so I could get into a spot where I could get prone. And I got a perfect view where we saw that big bull last night. This afternoon, we're gonna move down here to this finger ridge. If that bull pops out, and we're gonna be ready. And it's gonna be a little bit of a long shot, I'm gonna be honest with you. It's a little bit far across the canyon, but I think it's doable. If I get a shot and I'm feeling solid and the wind's not doing anything crazy, I'm gonna send it. Alright, so it's beginning of day 3 up here. We're back on this rock outcropping where I got my rifle set up and ready to go. It took us almost an hour and 45 minutes to hike here this morning. So, we're definitely putting in the work. It rained a little bit last night. Today it's overcast. It's not too cold right now, but it's only supposed to get up into the mid-40s today. Hopefully, Lord willing, we'll get a shot here this morning, or figure out something else. But we got about 2.5 more days to hunt, so we're seeing a lot of animals. Just need to get one in the right place. Today's been the slowest morning by far. I've seen a couple elk pretty far away. Honestly, I don't know what the plan is. We're coming down, a little bit coming down to the wire, so we'll see what we can come up with. Is that thing rolling? Yeah, dude, we're rolling. Alright, we're kind of on plan C or D here, but we're kind of going into this spot blind and just gonna kind of hunt it and see what's going on. We got some weather rolling in tonight. It's supposed to start snowing tonight and all day tomorrow, so we're having fun, enjoying creation out here, and we're just gonna do our best and keep going and not quit. Hopefully, maybe the Lord will bless us and we'll capitalize, but if not, that's alright. We'll just see what we got. Alright, let's do it. So there's not a ton of glassing opportunity in here. I'm just kind of keeping the wind in our face and kind of creeping through the timber in some possible bedding areas. They like to bed on the back side of a little face or a little knob right on the back side of the hill. Might not be super high percentage, but it's kind of all we got right now, so we're just gonna work through this timber a little bit. And it's fun anyway, so. So even when your plan A dries up or doesn't quite work out, just keep working, keep moving, keep trying things. You never know when it might pay off. Just a couple of elk bums. Have gun, will travel. It's cold. Okay, so we are on the last evening hunt really of this trip that we can realistically do, because I fly out the next morning. You know, to be honest with you, I am feeling a little run down. Like, I'm not complaining. I'm blessed to be able to do this, but 2 back-to-back DIY public land elk hunts is kind of a lot. But I was saying to myself on the hike up here, just like, how bad do you want it? And Logan said the same thing too. So we need to get up there sooner rather than later so that we can have a backup spot for a hunt this afternoon if we get up there and there's no visibility. So gonna have to hydrate up, man up, and go up there. So just gonna get some food in me, and we're going for it. It's the last night, gotta do it. Hey everybody, what's up? My name is Hunter McWaters. I'm the host of the Hunter's Quest TV show, podcast, and YouTube channel. And today I'm here to talk to you a little bit about the e-scouting that went into planning this hunt. Now, I live in Virginia on the East Coast, and most of my hunts take place west of the Mississippi, which means I don't have really any time to scout except for maybe a day or two before the season if I can get out there early. So I rely heavily on e-scouting, and I do all my e-scouting on the desktop version and the mobile version of onX Hunt. So let's just jump right in here. I was really proud of the planning and preparation that I did going into this hunt, e-scouting, because we were into elk, deer, and even moose, as you saw from day one, and even found a really nice bull. Now, we made some mistakes that I learned from on this hunt, but I want to jump into kind of what I did there. So, the first major thing that I always tell people this kind of stuff is when I first started, I kind of had this idea that, you need to kind of find a spot on the map and just go in deep like day one. And you got to get like 7 miles in or something crazy. And while that may be true in certain circumstances and certain situations, generally, the best way to start is to start very wide in your hunting area and to slowly tighten the noose, as I like to call it, and get closer and closer to animals until you can get close enough to harvest one. So what that means is, looking at your entire unit, maybe breaking it up into manageable chunks, and then spending a day or even a day and a half, 2 days, driving around and just exploring, getting to know the unit. Now, these days when I'm going into a completely new area, I almost always plan at least a day, if not 2 days, to scout before the opening day, if possible. It's not always possible, but it is ideal. So the first thing I do when I look at a new area, and I apologize if this is your area, this is just a random spot I picked on a map. I've never been here before. Anyway, the first thing I'm going to do is obviously identify where the boundaries of my unit are, where the major access points are, and then I'm going to key on certain terrain features that I like. So the first thing I'm going to want to do is I want to be able to, keep all the information that I want on the map, but still make it somewhat easy for me to read. So I'm going to draw a line, and again, this is completely just imaginary line that I'm totally just making up around what could be a hunting unit. Let's say this is my unit right here. And then, from there, as you can see, I have my fire, historic burn layer, and I have my roadless layers on. Those are two of the most important things I like to key in on. But first thing I'm going to do is get a high-level plan. People like to skip over it a lot, but it's very important, especially if you're coming from somewhere far away, to know exactly how you're going to access your spot. So I like to figure out what town I'm going to be coming from, and how I'm going to physically get to my unit. So let's say I'm coming from, I'm just totally making this up, but let's say I'm coming from over here somewhere, like this looks like, let's say this is a town right here, kind of a Clarkia. So I'm just going to go ahead and do another line here. I like to color them like purple or pink, something visible. And then I'll just say, okay, Route 3 is going to take me in here. And I'm just kind of being very basic here. But okay, look, I see a campground here. That could be interesting. But what I like to do is, and this is very rough, but just very roughly map out how I'm going to get to my unit. And what are some of the main travel routes around the unit. So that will allow me to be efficient when I go in here to scout. So I'm just going to kind of pretend here, like I said, but let's say I'm going to attack this chunk here. I'm going to go ahead and, even though it's already on here, I like to trace it out just so I can visually see which actual route I want to take to scout. So also, you can see lots of roads. You don't want to obviously drive all these roads. Let's say I want to do this kind of route here. There's another campground there. Good to know. And so I'm gonna basically just go through here, plan out a little driving route. If I was really gonna hunt this, I'd be a little bit more detailed and thorough, of course, but I'm just trying to keep it brief. And that'll give me an idea of, okay, here's the main kind of route I can take driving around the whole thing. It's 51 miles. You know, I can basically estimate how long it's gonna take me to drive around that whole thing. And I'm gonna look on my route here, zoom in. You're gonna look for spots where maybe you can glass. I might want to glass here. This is a pretty decent looking vantage point. So I'm going to go ahead and just drop a pin here. Glassing area, save. Now, like I said, you're going to start wide. You're going to use your vehicle and be as efficient as possible in the beginning, picking major travel routes and getting somewhere, getting to spots that are easy to get to, pretty close to the road, just to look. So, you know, and again, I'm just kind of making this up as I go, just to give you an example, but you can see from this spot, you can see quite a bit of country. So this would be a good example of somewhere it's easy to get to on your vehicle, and you can just kind of look for animals. And then you're gonna set up your spotting scope, you're gonna let your glass do the walking, and you're gonna look for animals. And if you find animals, you know, it could be 2-3 miles away, you can key in on that area and just start to get closer and closer and closer. So that's the main thing. Obviously, at the same time, you're going to want to be identifying possible campsites because, you know, typically a lot of these units are a little bit more out there, and you don't want to be spending an hour, you know, 45 minutes every day driving from a hotel or an Airbnb or whatever. Sometimes that's the move, but for the most part, I like to at least establish a base camp that's like pretty close. But you don't want to necessarily commit to going in deep on day one. That's a big thing. You want to, you know, you don't want to spend 3 days going into a spot and just wasting half of your hunt when you have no idea. That's why I've learned through experience to start wide. Don't commit to a spot till you know there's animals there. If you get here and you realize, hey, there's definitely animals in this roadless area, I need to spike in there for 3 days, you can do that. But having a base camp set up somewhere is pretty efficient way to do it. So I will obviously go through here and identify different campsites along the way. Like we got one right here, you know, I'll add a waypoint there. Maybe say like possible camp. Boom. And that way I just start to map out the whole unit and get an idea of, okay, here's the boundaries, here's the main travel routes, here's how I'm getting to the unit. And a lot of times I'll even put like on the main access points, like I know this is the main road leading me in, I'll make that white and mark it as an access point. Just because I want to be able to be as efficient as possible when I'm in the field on my phone, trying to navigate stuff. So I'm identifying my main routes in, obviously my boundaries, possible campsites, and then high ground areas that are easy to get to glass from day one. Now again, you're not looking necessarily for hunting spots yet. You're looking for easy to get to, efficient glassing spots. From there, 3 things that I like to key in on, and I'm going to keep it somewhat general here, but that can kind of help with a wide variety of hunts. And what I kind of did on this hunt that you're watching right now is I was looking for burns, roadless areas, and north-facing bowls. Now, just because, you know, the nature of burns, I've always had great success in burn and previous burn areas. I'm looking for something in that 3 to 5 year old burn kind of time frame, and you can see here this map gives me 2017. That's a little older, but honestly still pretty good. You don't want like something that just burned that year. You want something that's got a little bit of age to it, because A, you're gonna be able to glass it pretty good, and then B, there's that new vegetation that animals just really like. You know, the canopy's burned over, so light gets to the forest floor, young vegetation, thick grasses, stuff like that. It's just great for wildlife habitat. Obviously, I'm keying in on these roadless areas because, you know, let's be honest, most of your average hunters are fairly lazy, for lack of a better word. Most guys don't want to go much more than a mile off the road, especially if you're hunting elk or something. But if you really want to get in there and find some good animals, you got to kind of do anything you can to get away from the crowds. So I'm going to key in on these roadless areas, and here you see I got a burn and intersecting a roadless area. So that's something I would definitely want to look at. And then I would start to say, okay, this looks pretty good. Now, how am I going to get in here, and how am I going to hunt this? Obviously I'm not going to want to really glass this way because you're just glassing into a bottom with a road in it. If I was going to come in here, you got a nice access point right here. I would see if I could get my vehicle up here somewhere and just glass from here to start with into this roadless area. And you might be able to, this is maybe not the best example because it's kind of a small roadless area, but it's just the concept I'm trying to get across. So I'm looking for, obviously, north-facing bowls, like I just said, burn areas, and roadless areas. And then I'm trying to figure out, okay, what's the most efficient way to get in there as close as I can in my vehicle or with camp, and then how to hunt it from there. So in the case of this hunt you're just watching now, I was able to find a campsite where we could set up a base camp, where we could hike. I think it was just over a mile and a half, but it was like 1,000 feet elevation, as you saw, which was a grueling kind of hike to do every single morning, I'm not gonna lie, but we got into elk. And if I were to do it again, I might have spiked up there, for a couple, 3 days, to be honest. But there was tons of stuff to glass. It was roadless, it had been a burn area, and it was far away from the campsite enough where I figured most guys weren't going to go in there, and we were right. So that's kind of how I like to approach things. One last tip I will give on kind of the high-level e-scouting. When I'm going through and looking for spots to glass when I'm scouting, or even when hunting, I'll do kind of a color coding system. So let's say I want to come and check out this ridge top right here, and I know there's a road right here, but I'm just making a point. I'm gonna get my line tool out, and I'm gonna say, okay, I'm gonna hike up this little spine here, something like that. Okay, save, and that's gonna show me, okay, that's 2 miles and 2,400 feet of elevation. That's gonna be a tough hike. So I'm still gonna mark that right here as a glassing area, potential glassing area, but I'm gonna mark that as red because that's really hard. If I wanted to come over here and just pop up this thing, okay, that's under a mile, 800 feet, not too tough, but it's pretty dang steep, as you can see right here. So maybe I would mark that with a yellow. And then if it was just a super easy little, thing you could run up in just 5 minutes and look into a spot, and it'd be quite easy and a decent looking glassing spot, I'll mark that with a green. That way I have green, yellow, and red for kind of amount of difficulty and time it's going to take to get into a spot. That way, when you're kind of planning your scouting days, and again, the goal on the scouting days is to be as efficient as possible, you can say, okay, I can hit these 3 spots pretty easy and quick, go in there for a few minutes, give it a look, see what it's like, and then maybe this really tough spot to get to, but I really want to check it out, maybe save that for your last spot of the day, so you can go in there like, the hour, 2 hours before dark, and really invest some time in that spot. So anyway, those are just a few of the high-level tips I have for e-scouting. Again, a lot of it just comes down to access, finding good areas, campsites, and really just how to use your time most efficiently when scouting or hunting once you get on the field. And once you kind of get a hang of it and put some time into it, it greatly increases your odds of success versus just showing up in a unit not knowing anything about it on day one. So the more time you put on your e-scouting in the days leading up to your hunt, I truly believe will lead to better success and seeing more animals in the field. So I highly recommend you sign up for onX Hunt, get an elite membership, and I think it'll translate to more success in the field and more enjoyable hunts. So thanks for watching.
If you get a chance, go over to my YouTube channel, The Hunter's Quest, and please subscribe. I got a lot of cool hunt films on there and everything, more on the way. Also got the podcast and the Instagram and the television show on Sportsman Channel. So definitely check out my content. I want to say thanks to onX for being a great partner and a great product. And just have a great season, and we'll see you guys on the next one.
Ready? Still got time, I think, to make it back and go just watch this spring that Logan found the other day. So we're gonna give that a shot, I guess. That's our really only move. So we're gonna get over there. This is our last play of the day. It might be the last play of the trip. It's supposed to snow pretty good tonight. We gotta pack up camp tomorrow and head to the airport. I think it's been a successful hunt though, no matter what happens. I've really enjoyed this hunt and learned a lot. It's a general tag. I drew it on 0 points. There's a lot of hunters up here, a lot of country. Through what I've learned over the years, kind of found this specific area that we've done most of our hunting in on my e-scouting this summer. And we came in, we were able to get in a high pressure area. We were able to get away from the crowds, find some elk, and have a few days to hunt them pretty much on our own. We saw at least 2, maybe 3 shooter bulls. One was a really nice bull. It didn't come together over there, and I'm not saying we did everything perfect, because we didn't, but we've been working hard, we haven't quit, and we got into some elk, and I'm good with that. And there's still time. We still got at least one sit, so we'll see what happens. Yeah. I think it's best to just call it. Get to Bozeman on time. Ooh. Look, snow's starting to fall. It's kind of poetic. The end of my elk season, which has been great. And the start of new things, and the snow's starting to fall. First snow of the year. New beginnings. What an awesome experience. I wouldn't trade it for anything. Here comes another band of snow.